Okay. Good day, sir.
Thank you.
From the hearing, you had a lot to say. Where exactly would you like to clarify? What exactly would you like to clarify?
I did make some clarification at this meeting. There was a report last week that indicated that TCN submitted case for extraordinary tariff review and it was turned down by NERC. That is not a correct position. We didn't submit case for extraordinary tariff review. What we requested for is a provision for spinning reserve. Provision for auxiliary service. Auxiliary services are services that are supposed to be provided by the market to ensure that we have a stable grid. One of them is what we call secondary reserve. The secondary reserve also has another name called spinning reserve. That secondary reserve is supposed to take care of instability that cannot be taken care of by the primary reserve. The primary reserve is a frequency control, which you are aware. We fought very, very hard to ensure that Nigeria have primary reserve. Before we came in TCN, there was no primary reserve. Primary reserve is one to take care of the demand and supply so that all generators that are connected to the grid in line with the grid code, they provide they put their machine on what is called free governor mode. As of today, I'm happy to tell you that apart from 3 small generators on the grid, which we have written letter to them and we have informed them that they are due for disconnection, all generators are on free governor in Nigeria, which is a significant achievement. Now, the next thing we need to have is the secondary reserve. The secondary reserve is to take care of instability that cannot be taken care of by the primary reserve. And what are these instability? If, for example, a generator that is carrying 300 megawatt, for example, goes off, or 2 of them, or a transmission line that is carrying huge power, let's say 400 megawatt, decided tripped. Maybe there is a fire, it is a bushfire, and it trips. The secondary reserve is supposed to come up to support the grid so that the demand and supply is balanced. And that is what we have come to request for here. Now, we are not requesting for it for TCN, it's for the industry. Because when there is a system collapse, is it only TCN that lost? No, everybody loses. And it brings a lot of strain on even TCN equipment, on distribution equipment, and on generation equipment. So it is the industry request. The reason why we are making the request is because we are the one operating the grid. Otherwise, it's for everybody. And we have made adequate clarification to all the stakeholders. And you have seen, at least with the pocket of 1 or 2 ignorance that we had to clarify, the general consensus is that most of them have understood what we are requesting for. And it's not a revenue for TCN. It's actually a service that is supposed to be provided, that is supposed to be paid, so that it will help further stabilize the grid.
But you would agree with me that with this increase, definitely the end party, which is the consumers, are going to be the one to pay for this.
Of course, they are the one to pay for it. But the fact is that if you are paying for service for improving the quality of that service, I think it is most important. And we have to understand that this is a standard all over the world. All over the world is a standard. If you want to have a stable grid, you want Nigeria to be like any other country. Like when you go to Europe, you find that their light doesn't go off. You go to America, their light doesn't go off. You go to Ghana, you see less instability. It's because they have done the right thing. And these are some of the right things that they need to do. And one of the things that we also want you to support is this issue of SCADA. You have heard what I said. Most of the stakeholders in the market see SCADA as if it is a TCN thing. It is not. It's a service that is also going to help us to further stabilize the grid. For example, we are talking about if a generator goes out. If it goes out, the spinning reserve is supposed to come and stabilize the grid. But is it supposed to go out? No. Any generator that goes out that is not within the planned maintenance that they have submitted to NCC, that NCC has approved, that generator is supposed to be penalized. But how do you penalize them? You only penalize them if you can see them. The only way you can see them is for the register of event, which is to be in place, and which is the SCADA, and why we are calling all the stakeholders in the power sector the most support for us to have a functional SCADA. Otherwise, we cannot operate the grid efficiently like other countries' grid are operated.
So TCN has procured 6 GenCos competitively.
Yes.
Who are these 6 GENCOs, and are they capable?
Yes, the 6 GENCOs, I think, include some hydros. I think the contracted generators like Azura and Odupani are also part of them. But what I want to tell you is that all those generators, we have tested them and we have seen they are capable of providing the service. The only challenge we have as of today is the fact that since we don't have SCADA, some of them, the current SCADA can see them, but some of them, the current SCADA cannot see them. How do we put in the mechanism that we can be able to monitor what they are providing? Don't forget that the spinning reserve is not only because your generation was 10 megawatt and you have increased it by 20, and that means the 20 you have increased has become spinning reserve. It's not like that. It has to respond to the frequency changes. So did your generation, even though we have contracted you, did you increase that generation according to the contract in line with the changes of the frequency? Because it means that if the frequency dip, because we have lost a significant load, your generation is supposed to respond to that. Did he respond to that? And that's why I said that Shola, who is the head of system planning of NCC, is not here with us. He's already in those stations, some of those stations, together with other engineers that we set up committee to find out how can we monitor this. If we are not sure that we can monitor it, we are not going to deploy it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because we cannot put it.
This load rejection of discos, will this spinning reserve address that?
Yeah, the load rejection, I think NERC is addressing this. NERC has already done an order that is mandating discos that they are going to pay for capacity. So this is going to address that problem. Very soon you will see that this load rejection is going to be a thing of the past, because the load rejection actually is because the discos can drop load and increase load at will, and they are not penalized for anything. But now that NERC is putting this structure to ensure that there is capacity charge for those that refuse to take load, I think that very soon you will see that this load rejection is going to be a thing of the past.
Those are arguing that this excess generation, that the excess one unutilized power being generated, can't it be converted to reserve? Now, that's an argument by the distributor. I want you to explain.
Yeah, but you see that argument has been punctured by not even by us, by people who are not even within the transmission. You had the reply of Dr. Ogaji to that argument. You see, the spinning reserve is not a capacity charge. It's a provision for service. We are not even paying them for the energy. We are only paying them premium for providing that service. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that service will be called on when it is needed. It's not that you are deploying that service, it will be running all the time. So we are paying you for putting that service available. That's how it is.